This is from Caitlin Clark herself. I'd hope to share a better update, but I will not be returning to play this season. I spent hours in the gym every day with the singular goal of getting back out there. Disappointed isn't a big enough word to describe how I'm feeling. I want to thank everyone who has had my back through all this uncertainty. This has been incredibly frustrating, but even in the bad, there is good. And the way the fans continue to show up for me and for the Fever brought me so much joy and important perspective. I'm so proud of how this team has only gotten stronger through adversity this year. Now it's time to close out the season and claim our spot in the play.
The WNBA just got smacked with a harsh wake-up call, life minus Caitlin Clark. Ratings are collapsing faster than a bad dunk contest, and ticket sales are free-falling right alongside them. The league's credibility is wobbling, and outside of the Indiana Fever, every team's dreams are sinking like an anchor in deep water.
So it's official. The most heartbreaking news for Indiana Fever fans that could come of the season, but Caitlin Clark will not be returning to the 2025 WNBA season. She took the liberty of posting it herself because there were many people asking to hear from Caitlin Clark, to hear how she felt about the entire situation, because a lot of people felt like it was the front office that was kind of making all of these.
One Caitlin Clark season-ending injury announcement later, and the WNBA's historic growth tagline now reads like a flimsy pitch from an overworked intern. The shine is gone, the buzz is fading, and owners aren't just uneasy, they're spiraling. Forget concern, this is full-blown panic mode, and it's spreading across the league fast.
The norm for the WNBA is being largely ignored by the media. Largely ignored by sports media. Not considered a real professional league, to the point where people didn't even know it existed until CC22. That's just a fact. You can't believe how many times I have people come in the chat and say, I didn't even know that there was a professional women's basketball league until Caitlin. Yeah, it's the facts.
If you are enjoying, please leave a like and subscribe our channel. The Queen is officially sidelined for the year, and now league executives are in chaos mode. After weeks of vague updates, endless speculation, and no clear timeline whispers, Caitlin Clark finally delivered the news everyone feared. Asterisk, I will not be returning this season. Asterisk, one sentence, and the WNBA's worst-case scenario just became reality.
The Fever and Clark saying that she tried to get back on the floor. It appears that she just ran out of time, not able to get enough confidence back in her body as the season wraps up and the playoffs are likely about to begin for Indiana. I mean, it's a gut punch that basically encompasses an entire season of them. The Fever have lost so many players to injury, but obviously none bigger than Clark. And there was such a wait for this second season after her magnificent rookie season. And then, the anticipation of her possibly coming back only for that.
The Fever can finally drop the illusion of a miracle return. No schedule. No timeline. Just a gaping void where the league's brightest star once stood. And now the fallout is real. The panic isn't confined to Indiana, it's racing through WNBA front offices and boardrooms like wildfire, leaving desperation in its wake.
When she was supposed to return versus the Minnesota Lynx, supposedly, and then the Scott Agneses and all them start talking about she suffered a bone bruise in Phoenix, I told y'all it was a wrap. It was done. It was done. They knew it. And I believe they've known far longer. They have known. They've kept us fans in the dark, and it sucks. It absolutely sucks. Man, I was so looking forward to watching Caitlin Clark play this season. Now we have to wait an entire offseason, and we don't even know what's going to happen. There might be a lockout. There might not even be a 2026 season, guys.
Let's talk numbers. When Caitlin Clark was lighting up the court, the Indiana Fever pulled in an average of 1.26 million viewers per game. Then came July 15th, the groin injury, and suddenly national broadcast sank to 847,000. That's a crushing 53% nosedive, a reality check delivered by Freight Train. And remember, those numbers came when fans were still clinging to hope of a return. Now that Clark has officially shut it down for the season, the real collapse hasn't even started yet. Brace yourself, because the WNBA isn't just facing a dip, it's staring down a full-blown ratings apocalypse.
This has been a huge disaster as far as public perception for the WNBA. An entirely new group of people started tuning in to this league for one player and one player only. In fact, so many new people tuned into this league, the viewership for the Caitlin Clark games largely surpassed anything else going on in the WNBA. I would argue that the amount of Caitlin Clark fans are at least 3x the amount of WNBA.
The WNBA without Caitlin Clark doesn't feel like a pro league. It feels like a support group for players wondering why no one's tuning in. The league had its chance to prove it could stand tall during her injury absence, and the numbers were brutal. NBA TV broadcasts tanked 40% without her. Non-Clark games? They averaged just 549,000 viewers, still 37% lower than what she single-handedly delivers. The gap between Clark-led matchups and everyone else is so glaring it's almost comedic. This isn't just one superstar sitting out, it's the league's entire marketing playbook unraveling in real time, leaving executives terrified as the foundation they built everything on starts to crack wide open.
Team, because she knows just how much she means to everybody that buys those tickets. I mean, I would say at least like 90 to maybe not 95, but like 90% of the people in arenas were there to see Caitlin Clark, which of course they became fans of the Fever afterwards, but you know, Caitlin Clark is the draw. And then here's this one where she's actually in her street clothes. And yeah, these are, you know, pretty heartfelt photos, her in the huddle with her teammates. But I gotta say, this was quite a year. I mean, there came a certain point where people, including myself, were just like, what is actually going on? I think that it's time. It was definitely time to tell fans.
Commissioner Kathy Engelbert can call her the most popular athlete in America all she wants, but that title comes with a terrifying responsibility. When your entire league's success hinges on one person's health, every injury becomes an existential crisis. The WNBA spent decades trying to build a sustainable product, and then Clark showed up and single-handedly became the difference between relevance and irrelevance. Now, imagine the viewership for the WNBA playoff finals. Because Caitlin Clark isn't going to be involved. The Indiana Fever, currently sitting in 8th place and barely clinging to a playoff spot at 21-20, most likely won't even make it with Clark sidelined for the entire season. The team that was supposed to be a championship contender is now fighting for their playoff lives without their floor general, their marketing machine, and their ticket-selling superstar.
Here, Indiana Fever will be either a first-round exit or may not make the playoffs. I really believe that Mystics game is a trap game. Also, I don't know if they have all the pieces anymore now with Chloe Bibby out for the rest of the season, another random player, but we drafted her. We kind of know her, but still, she wasn't part of the team for the majority of the season. And then Aerial Powers and Odyssey Sims and Shea Petty. Who are these people? You know what I'm saying? The Indiana Fever are no longer the Indiana Fever.
The economics of Clark's absence are staggering. Sports economist Ryan Brewer projected her economic impact could reach $1 billion this season. That's not just basketball revenue, that's merchandising, tourism, television deals, and everything else that comes with being a cultural phenomenon. Meanwhile, other players are still trying to figure out how to convert social media metrics into actual financial impact. The gap between Clark and everyone else isn't just about basketball skills, it's about star power, marketability, and the ability to make people care about women's basketball. But here's where it gets delicious, the absolute panic mode that's setting in across the league. You've got players who spent the entire 2025 season throwing shade at Clark, committing flagrant fouls like they were collecting trading cards, and now they're watching empty arenas echo with the sound of their own desperation. The petty jealousy abundant in the league? It's about to get a whole lot more visible because the spotlight just dimmed permanently for 2025. The targeting was real, the injuries were inevitable, and now the consequences are hitting harder than a Carter Williams flagrant foul. Clark faced more physical abuse than any other player in the league, And when your entire marketing strategy revolves around one person, you'd better protect that investment. But the league failed, and now they're paying the price in empty seats and canceled broadcasts.
The WNBA ratings' worst nightmare just came true because it was just announced that Caitlin Clark will be out for the rest of the season. She's only played 13 games this season, and her most recent injury, which happened back in July, was a groin injury. The craziest part about all of this has been the reporting around her injury. The team has never given her a timetable for return, and literally up until today, the team had been reporting that she was still trying to get back on the court this season. The Fever only have 3 regular season games left in the season before playoffs. Some fans were even speculating that they've just been stringing fans along the whole time because they know that ratings and attendance would drop once they announced that she's out, which is also so ironic that they announced it the day that football season starts.
Let's be brutally honest about what really happened during Clark's injury absence. The league tried to manufacture drama with other storylines, but fans weren't buying it. Angel Reese's matchups without Clark drew crowds smaller than a high school JV game. The Chicago Sky, who built their entire season around being Clark's rival, suddenly found themselves playing in front of 6,000 people instead of the 20,000 they needed when facing the Fever. When Clark got injured before their June game, ticket prices dropped from $86 to $25 within 48 hours. That's not a slight dip, that's a market collapse. The desperation during Clark's absence was palpable. Teams moved games to larger venues expecting her to play, then couldn't move them back when she got injured. The Washington Mystics moved their game to Baltimore to accommodate Clark crowds, only to see ticket prices crash from $41 to $14 when she couldn't play. It's a masterclass in how quickly hype can turn into disappointment when your entire marketing strategy revolves around one person. And now, the final nail in the coffin. Clark's season-ending announcement comes at the worst possible time for playoff positioning. The Fever, who were championship contenders with her, are now fighting just to make the 8th seed. ESPN's Power Index gives them a 97.4% chance of making the playoffs, but that's assuming they can maintain their current trajectory without their best player, their primary offensive weapon, and their biggest crowd draw.
This season has been a complete train wreck. This season's been a complete disaster. We got the GOAT, who only played 13 games, missed basically the whole season. DeWanna Bonner scammed us. Natasha Howard basically scammed us. Stephanie White's a liar. Amber Cox is a liar. Kelly Crosskoff's a liar. Now we have to go a whole offseason with the front office we don't trust, we don't believe in, we can't believe anything they say, and we don't know what's really going to happen with Caitlin Clark's health.
The psychological impact of Clark's announcement can't be overstated. Fans who spent months buying tickets, planning trips, and tuning in religiously are now saying exactly what the league feared most: if she's out, I'm out. The casual fans who discovered women's basketball through Clark's college dominance? They're gone. The corporate sponsors who jumped on the Caitlin Clark bandwagon? They're reconsidering their investments. The television networks that built their programming around Fever games? They're scrambling for backup content. Here's the scary part for the WNBA. If Clark's injury can single-handedly crash the league's viewership and attendance, what does her season-ending announcement do to playoff ratings? The WNBA Finals without Clark involvement could be a disaster of epic proportions. Networks that were expecting record-breaking playoff numbers are now preparing for the harsh reality that casual fans don't care about Liberty versus Lynx, they cared about Caitlin Clark versus everyone.
Caitlin Clark was hurt after that Liberty game. That's when they should have said, we need to wait this out until the All-Star break. But instead, they worried about their ticket sales, TV ratings, and all this stuff. So they actually had Caitlin Clark come back a couple weeks earlier than expected, and I think that's the real reason why she's out. They mismanaged this entire season. I don't respect the GM. I don't respect the president anymore. I really don't respect the coach. They all lied on false pretense. That's all they did. They kept lying and kept stringing Caitlin Clark like a carrot on a string. And all these fans kept going to the games hoping that she'll come back.
The ripple effects extend far beyond basketball. Television networks are already repositioning themselves for the ratings apocalypse. ESPN and ABC, who saw their WNBA ratings crash by 55% during Clark's previous absence, are now facing the prospect of an entire playoff run without their biggest draw. The same networks that built their women's basketball coverage around Clark are about to be reminded why they needed her more than she needed them. But the most beautiful part of this entire situation? Clark is a queen for making this announcement when she did. She could have strung the league along, kept hope alive, and maintained the charade that maybe, just maybe, she might return for the playoffs. Instead, she delivered the death blow to their season with surgical precision, telling everyone exactly what they didn't want to hear. She's done, the Fever's championship hopes are over, and the WNBA's golden goose is officially cooked.
Not only a huge blow for the Fever, but also for the entire WNBA. Caitlin was out with an injury back in June. Viewership dropped over 50% across the league. That's the kind of effect that she has on things. And it seems like from her post and how they announced it, Caitlin was the one that was trying so hard to get back on the court. She has traveled to every single away game. She's always meeting with fans, taking photos, signing autographs, doing all of the things because she knows how many people come out specifically to see her. But I'm really interested to see what viewership and attendance looks like now that it's official that she's done. The hope is gone.
The league spent months promoting growth beyond one player, but Clark's announcement just exposed that as the marketing mythology it always was. Without Clark, the WNBA returns to what it was before her arrival, a niche product for a dedicated fanbase, struggling to fill 10,000-seat arenas and averaging viewership numbers that barely register on television executives' radar. Clark's announcement isn't just bad news for the Fever, it's an existential crisis for the entire league. The WNBA built their 2025 marketing campaign around her return, their television contracts around her games, and their attendance projections around her star power. Now they're left holding expensive pieces of paper for playoff games nobody wants to see. The worst part for the WNBA? This was completely preventable. If they had protected their investment, managed her minutes, and prioritized her health over short-term revenue grabs, Clark might still be healthy and preparing for a playoff run. Instead, they let her get targeted, abused, and ultimately injured to the point where she can't return. It's a masterclass in how to destroy your own golden goose.
This has been a full circle moment for the WNBA. With all the chatter of Kathy Engelbert saying, oh, if one player gets injured, one player, well, you have it. That one player got injured. And now you have it. There's no conversation around the league. No positive, no negative, no conversation at all. The only media talking about the WNBA are the content creators, are the YouTubers, are people with podcasts, people with their own shows, etc., etc. But you go on to ESPN, nobody's talking about the W. You go on to Fox Sports, nobody's talking about the W. The WNBA has managed to turn off a fan base that would have elevated this league into a...
So yes, fans are shrugging and saying, you know what? I'm out too. The casual viewers Clark brought to the WNBA are disappearing for good. Sponsors are quietly rethinking their deals. Networks are bracing for ratings to tank. And league executives are facing the truth everyone else already saw. Caitlin Clark wasn't just the biggest star, she was the product. She made her move, and now the league has to live with the fallout. Spoiler, without her, this postseason won't feel historic or groundbreaking, it'll feel empty, a long cold stretch where the WNBA's brightest light is nowhere to be found.
I've got a couple of things. I've got my dude, Jason Whitlock, saying he's done. He's out. We've got Colin Cowherd saying, you know what? Guess what I didn't talk about on my show this year? The WNBA. Guess why? He just come out and said it yesterday. Because Caitlin Clark was not playing. That's why. He said, I led my show, my biggest, largest national sports radio show in the country. I led my show with Caitlin Clark 6 times last year. I mean, you don't lead a show with anybody unless.
This might be the harshest move Caitlin Clark could have made against the WNBA, and it makes her look like a queen while doing it. Sometimes the strongest statement isn't on the court, but stepping away and letting the league collapse under its own weight. The panic is real, the ratings cliff is coming, and Clark gets to watch the chaos unfold from the sidelines with a grin. The WNBA is about to face the most painful truth in sports. If you build your empire around one star, you better keep that star healthy and satisfied. They failed at both, and now the league is staring at life without its golden goose. Spoiler, the picture isn't pretty, it's downright bleak. If you enjoyed leaving a like and subscribing, more videos are on the screen now.